Holy moly. So I just watched a little bit of the Destiny versus Alex Jones January 6th debate. Very disappointing. Glenn Greenwald was there and he was on some BS as usual. What a clown. Alex Jones, what a clown. And I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed with Destiny in the particular section that I was watching. Although, in all fairness, I believe one of the reasons that Destiny kind of didn't do so well in certain areas is because the debate was out of control. Whoever ran that debate did not do a very good job. There was a lot of people talking over each other. So Glenn Greenwald might say something ridiculous, and then Destiny would try to give a rebuttal to it. And in the middle of him talking, Alex Jones would just randomly start screaming whatever, just nonsense. And Destiny keeps trying to finish what he's saying, but then Alex Jones is saying stuff, and then some other guy saying stuff in the background, and then someone else would kind of like move the conversation along, but we never really got to hear Destiny's response. I mean, it was really like a juvenile type of imagine like a college debate, not a formal college debate, but just like some bunch of random people having a debate, that age, just very young and immature. In particular, it has a very jock feel, a very jock-ish feel to it. Like imagine you've got some really sort of you know let's just say meathead type of person, and they say something completely ridiculous, and then you're trying to respond and let them know what they said is ridiculous, and you're being logical and factual, and they'll just cut you off in the middle of what you're talking. You that's what you saw on Google or whatever, and then you might lose your thought process. So many things, but the bottom line is you're going to be unable to have a debate with someone like that because they won't let you speak. They'll speak over you. You lose your thought process, and it's just a big mess, right? They will end up appearing to win because they're just louder and more aggressive, and they say stuff with confidence. And then if they have anyone else that's kind of meathead around, then it's a wrap for you because the other meathead is going to jump on board with the other meathead. The two meatheads will be like, oh, and you're sitting there, 23.5% in 1960 on some like facts stuff, and they can be like, you believe everything you read. Like that's kind of how that would go. And that's kind of how the debate was. But they did something that I see happening a lot, and it's something I wanted to talk about anyway. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to talk about this. The word game, the word games. It's really ridiculous. There's this mentality that so we're discussing a thing, right? Something that happened. There's the substance of what happened, and you can have your opinion about the substance of what occurred. You agree with it, you disagree with it, right? But that's the thing, right? The actual thing. And then there's the label of the thing. I see a very, very common tactic where people will focus more on the label than the actual thing, right? So, I'll give you an example. I'm going to make it extreme so I get the point across. Imagine if a man, imagine if a man rapes his girlfriend and then he cuts off her feet, he cuts off her arms, and he stabs her somewhere and then hangs her upside down and leaves her to bleed to death. Now, let's say that the definition of lynching seems to apply here, right? So someone says, this sicko, he lynched his wife, right? A person who is uncomfortable with the thing, right? The guy raped his girlfriend, he cut off her legs, right? They're uncomfortable with that thing, right? So they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to debate that. They don't want to say he was in the wrong or he was right to do that. They don't want to get into any of that stuff, right? So rather than discuss the actual thing, what they'll do is they'll focus on the label, right? So someone says, this guy lynched his girlfriend, and then that person wants to have a long debate about whether that's considered lynching or not, right? So the response is, oh, that's not lynching. That's not lynching. How is that lynching? Well, if that's lynching, then somebody else that did some other thing, that's lynching as well, right? You didn't call that thing lynching, so how is this thing lynching? I think it's very telling when people do this, because why do you care what it's called? Why do you care what the label is? Why is that worth some long discussion? I guess a semantic discussion, right? Why don't we discuss the thing that occurred, whether you agree or disagree with it, why you agree with it, why you disagree with it? Who cares what it's called, right? So, in the January 6th discussion, the word game was, and this is a common word game, is whether it's an insurrection or not. And they also did the whether it's a coup or not. So, Glenn Greenwald, unwilling or unable to defend the actions of Donald Trump and friends, chooses instead to focus on whether it's an insurrection or not, whether it's a coup or not. Another part of this word game strategy is it's almost as if you can successfully argue that a thing that a label applied to a thing is inappropriate, right? So like in my example, if you can successfully argue that what the guy did to his girlfriend is not a lynching, then somehow that makes it not that big of a deal. Because again, the big deal, this is like, it's such a bizarre game. It's almost, they're making it as if the issue would be whether the label applies, right? If I can successfully argue that the thing was a coup, then all of a sudden it's Okay, well, that's pretty bad because it's a coup, right? So it's like we want to separate the actions that occurred, right? The actual thing that occurred. We want to separate that and focus on just labels. So if we can detach the thing from a label that we feel is poisonous, right? Then somehow that makes the thing, like, that's a way of making the thing seem like it's not so bad. As long as we can say that this bad label is not appropriate, then it's kind of like it's see, it's not a coup. And it's not even as if they would come up with an alternative label, which is interesting. It's a very, very dishonest game. It's not like they're saying it's not a coup, it's just a blank. They just want to detach it or disassociate it from this word that's, it's a poisonous word. Like, the people who are ideologically aligned with us, right, were accused of doing a coup. Coup is a poisonous word. We can't let that stand. We can't let, you know, our tribe be associated with such a poisonous word. So we're going to focus on the semantics, whether it's a coup or not a coup, because if we can detach coup from our tribe, then it's kind of like we've done something successful. What's the expression? A rose would smell just as sweet under any other name. Let's talk about what actually occurred. Like, people want to play games with words. Okay, let's let's who cares? Let's get rid of the word coup and get rid of the word insurrection. And let's have a discussion about what actually occurred, and I want to hear your thoughts about what you feel about what happened. No labels. Let's have a no labels debate about what happened and how bad you think it is. So rather than us focusing on, did he or didn't he lynch his girlfriend, let's talk about a guy cutting off the limbs of his girlfriend, raping her, cutting her, and leaving her. Let's talk about that. I think that's really, really disgusting. Do you agree or disagree? Like, let's talk about the substance, right? But they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about the word, right? Oh, it's not a lynching. It's not a lynching. That's not a lynching. How is that a lynching? Well, if that's a lynching, then this other thing is a lynching, right? Coup. It's not a coup. Oh, how is this a coup? It's not a coup. Well, that other thing that those other people did that are associated with you, that's a coup as well. Then, if this is a coup, that's a coup. Who cares if it's a coup? Who cares if it's an insurrection? These are just labels. Talk about the fox, Rick. Sorry. Talk about the substance. Talk about what occurred on January. Of course, if you do this successfully, then there's many other games to be played, because that's how tribalism works. If your tribe did something very bad, you're going to do everything you can to whitewash it. It wasn't that big of a deal. Normalize it. Oh, your side did the same thing as well. Or play the word game and try to disassociate it from a word that's, in your view, toxic. I don't want this particular label to be applied to members of my tribe, right? I'm a bit of a savage, so I don't really care about what happened. I don't care who died. I don't care about risk to the country. I don't care about the Constitution. I don't care about any of that stuff, right? Don't care about the substance. I just don't want people in my tribe to be labeled with this poisonous word. So I'm willing to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes or an hour debating you about whether the label that they're applying is appropriate. Again, I don't want to give an alternative label. And this is a telling thing of when someone is playing this trick, right? They won't want to give you an alternative label. They won't say it wasn't a coup. It wasn't actually a right. They won't even say something that's like let's say it wasn't a coup. It was just a riot. They wouldn't say that. It wasn't a coup. It was just a protest. They won't say that. They just want to disassociate, their tribe from having this poisonous label applied to them, right? If they can successfully argue that the label is inappropriate, then we win, right? And then if you move on to the substance, then there's other games they want to play. Well, BLM did it as well. Most of the people were peaceful. So I don't want to talk about these that did the really bad thing. Let's talk about the peaceful ones, right? Just lack of integrity, man. Glenn Greenwald, clown, and Alex Jones. I just can't. It's like this. Like we're living in a simulation, man. I can't believe how many people just normalize this lunatic, fraud, clown. The guy's nuts. I don't know, man. This is Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. When will this stuff end? It never stops. Never ends. No integrity. No consistency. Just savages all around. Disgusting. Really disgusting.